Hey, welcome back to the shop. Today we're making little stacking stones, and they're adorable and super quick and super fun to make. Let's jump into it. Our basic material, as with most simple projects, is wood. Pretty simple. Can be just about any kind, any shape. Preferably not much smaller than this, which is about 2 inches long, 3/4 of an inch deep, somewhere in there. I've just got a few scraps and a few cubes that I want to work with. Now, the one thing you want to keep in mind with these is that some people do make them for children as toys, and I wouldn't recommend plywood. I wouldn't recommend wood from unknown sources like this. I have no idea what this is. Would not want to give it to kids. Also, anything that is small and could go down a kid's throat, probably not a good thing. Actually, definitely not a good thing. Don't do that. These, you can get, they're about 1 1/4 inches by 1 1/4 inches by 1 1/4 inches. Little cubes you can get on the store that exists somewhere in a rainforest. You know what I'm talking about. Named after a river. For about 22 bucks for 50 of these. And you don't want to trim them down too much, but you can take the corners off, take some of the edges off, make them nice, stony-like, and use these for kids' toys because they're specifically from a seller that specializes in doing that sort of thing. Unfinished birch wood. No splinters on their edges. It's very nice. We're going to try making some stones out of each of these. We'll start with something like this. I'm really curious to see how these turn out because some rocks have little bands in them, and I want to see how that works. And yeah, we'll see how we fare. One thing I should note is that I did cut these down with a very simple hand saw. Not too expensive, not terrible. But these came finished. If you want to go a little more expensive, I know people are going to complain about the price because, I mean, these are 1 1/2 inch cubes and 50 of them for 20 bucks. You can probably find something a lot more inexpensive and cut it yourself if you have the tools. But if you don't, these are a decent option. Also, if you're looking for something just for kids that you know is going to be safe, these are a good option. Now you can shape these in a number of ways. You can use sandpaper. Very simple, takes a long time, but if you really want to work at it, get a bunch of 60 grit sandpaper. Oop, pardon me. 60 grit sandpaper, and just work your little fingers off until they're how you want them to be. And you can do that. And it'll take forever. But it's an option. Another option, you can use a wood file. If you really wanted. Again, this only works one way. There's a smooth side and a rough side. But if you want, and you have a file, you can totally do that. Now, we're already seeing something here. This will delaminate plywood because it's kind of resined together wood. So you probably don't want to use this on plywood. But you can totally do that if you go the right way, unlike I do. And you just keep at it for a few hours and really want to build your arm strength. We've gotten that far in that amount of time. So you're probably also not going to get accurate geometric faces if that's what you're looking for. Third option, you can use one of these. This is a simple random orbital sander. I don't have any paper on here, but if you notice, you can kind of push into it a little bit. So that means that these aren't going to be completely flat faces. If you're looking for something very rigid and geometric, probably not the best idea. But if you're going for something a little more smooth stone, river stone looking, not quite as modern, this will work just fine. Now, before I introduce what I'm going to do, I gotta give you a little disclaimer. this is not safe, what I'm about to show you. So I can't encourage you to actually use this method, but I do like to encourage people to think of their tools in ways that they don't normally work. Having said that, always be safe. If you're going to take risks like I am, you're putting your safety in your own hands. Sorry, Mom. And just keep your wits about you. What I'm going to do is take this thing, turn it upside down, and clamp it to the bench. That way, we have a very hard surface and sandpaper that's traveling very quickly. I can't remember what grit I have in this. It's probably something similar to this, about a 60, maybe an 80. But regardless, something that's going to take off a lot of wood very quickly, also will take off skin very quickly. So keep that in mind. So I want to make sure that my hoodie strings are tucked in, that nothing is dangling, hanging out to get caught in there and to, you know, pull me into the machine. That's not going to be a fun day. Also, I'm going to hook this up to one of these guys. So it's not exactly a surge protector, but it'll give me a switch that I can hit so that when this is on the table, I don't have to reach around and release this. You see that? That's not going to work when it's down here and I have to, yeah. I'd rather just hit something, you know, flip it, just in case something does go wrong. I don't think it will. I've done this a few times before, but if it does, I want a quick exit, not a panicked searching for something underneath the thing that's spinning at high speeds. And it's bad. Don't do that. Don't do that. Anyways, let's get into this. Alright, so on this first piece, it went really fast. Of course, this is sped up ridiculously, but I just shaved off some corners. I like to cut corners. That's probably a bad thing. Shave down the edges so that they're all at random weird angles, and cut some of the sides really short so that it's less squarish. It went really fast. It was a lot of fun. That's still one of my favorites. The second one is more oblong, so I tried to emphasize that shape and keep it. Yeah, this one was super simple as well. I tried to make the angles of the edges and corners a little sharper in the direction of that oblong shape, so that it would look a little more like a rounded long stone. I was just experimenting a lot and figuring out how to make rocks out of wood. One thing you want to keep in mind is that rocks in nature generally don't have a whole lot of parallels, if that makes sense. So if you look at the opposite sides, they usually aren't exactly on the same plane. One's a little bit crooked compared to the other. So I tried to make sure to do that. Not too much, because these are stacking stones and I wanted to make sure that they can stack well. But it seems to work pretty well. This one I tried to do more organically, and I don't like how it turned out, so I'll need to practice a little bit more on that. I'm wondering if an orbital sander would have been better for more of an organic shape, because an orbital sander tends to hug the material a little more. Tried using the top to put a little curve in there. It worked, but you can't vary that curve any, you know. That shape is what you get, and that's all you get. So it made it a bit tricky to ease in that shape into the rest of the piece. But it fits the hand well, which is what I was going for. But yeah, I spent a lot of time on this one. I think if I didn't do this one, the rest of them only would have taken probably about 20 minutes for all of them. This one I think took about 10 minutes itself. These blocks were so much fun to work with.
I really, really like how they sanded. I like the shape of them. It's nice that they're exact cubes because you can get a good grip on them very easily no matter what angle you're holding it at. This did create a lot of dust, so make sure to wear a dust mask, have good ventilation, also ear protection because this was incredibly loud. And there's a bunch of dust flying off right there. Also, I did have my finger go into the belt at one point, shaved off a little bit of my fingernail, but other than that, it went pretty well.
I really like the styrations, I believe they're called. Little lines in there on that one. That reminds me of some river rocks I've found. But all very fun. I don't really care for this one. I spent way too much time on him as well, trying to shape him into something that looked more natural. I do like the feel of it though. It feels good in the hand. You know, good little stress relief rub stone or something. Don't really know. Interesting. You can put a little blade on it and get a little carving knife. Yeah, probably not. Don't do that. Don't. No blades, kids. But yeah, I think they work pretty well. They're a lot of fun. And if you want, you could just stop right there and put these, you know, in a little spot where you can just stack them. Good desk toy. Or from here you can finish them. If you want to give something like this as a gift to people with kids, you can keep them plain like that. You could use non-toxic watercolors, which would stain the wood different interesting colors. You can also use mineral oil, which is what people use on cutting boards. If you want to apply this stuff, it's really easy. I mean, you just take a cloth, which I don't really have on hand, so I'll just put a little in the cap, and you know, it's perfectly safe to handle. You can just, oh, that's cool. That's getting really dark. But yeah, you just apply it, let it soak, even it out, and it kind of becomes more old-fashioned looking as that oil brings out some of the grain. Put a few coats on that and it'll protect it for a little longer, keep it from cracking, which these have been sitting around for a while, so they probably won't crack, but you know what I mean. It's just super chill. There you go. Also be careful what kind of clothes you're wearing while you apply oil, because they will stain and be terrible, and you don't want that. Unless you don't care about your clothes getting ruined by getting all oily. So there you go. Look at that difference right there. That's pretty crazy. You could even have some of them with some oil applied and some of them without, and you get some nice contrast. It's pretty cool. You know, while I'm here, I'm curious about this guy. I can't not. I am curious. I want to know. I want to know what he'll turn out looking like. Ooh. Oh, that's kind of pretty. That's really nice. I really like that one a lot more now. Oh yeah, that really brings out those stripes. Wow. Looks more natural, less manufactured, more like a rock, less like, well, still kind of like wood. Yeah, still going to look like wood. Another thing you can do with these, which I'm not going to do today, because I'm running a little short on time, but you can also go back and sand them down with more fine sandpaper to make them smooth. I like these rough, personally, because they stack easier. They have a little bit of a grip, kind of like a natural stone does. They have that texture. But you can sand them so that they're smooth and shiny and whatever. But I think the oil adds enough shine. Oh, look at that. It's so pretty. That's an interesting little spot right there. Huh. Yeah, really, really liking these. Let's see, one more stack for the road. Oh, can we do it? Can we do it? I don't think we can do it, guys. Ah, we did it! Look at that. It's pretty. So yeah, that is Tumi Ishi. I'm probably mispronouncing that wildly, but stacking stones made of wood. I think they're going to be really popular here in the near future. Thanks for watching.